bisa.
Okay, everybody, good afternoon and thank you for coming. We are about to start, so please take your seats. Nah, Ibu Susi di situ aja.
Okay. All right. Okay, good afternoon, Pak Yudi, Pak Eka. Thank you for coming, and the 2019 cohort, I think 2022, 2021. Thank you for coming. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, welcome to our Faculty of Education, Sampoerna University, and welcome Bapak Ibu, friends, probably I think there's some teachers, yeah. Thank you for coming. So today we'd like to have or celebrate our journey in micro-teaching class. We have about like 25 students, teacher candidates from two different study programs, English language education study programs and mathematics education 2019 cohort. And this semesters they are taking micro teaching, and Ibu Putih and I were very fortunate to teach this class. And we have, new experience with them about how to start their journey as a teacher or novice teachers when they graduate. Through this micro teaching, they have been creating, their teaching philosophy and their unit plans and their lessons, and they try to deliver their teaching. This is something different because usually for English language educations, they teach English like grammars or skills, but in micro teaching, we would like to challenge them to teach a new topic like identity awareness or environmental awareness in English for English language educations, the same as for mathematics education. So they have tried to, how to put or how to include their content to the topic. So that's quite challenging. So that's why at the end of the semester, we would like to celebrate their hard work, their learning experience throughout the semesters. So thank you, Pak Yudi again and Pak Eka. And I think we are going to hear or listen from the representatives about their journey. And I think beforehand, I would like to invite Pak Yudi to have a very a short speech, Bapak. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. If you are an English program study student, do not judge my English, yeah. I have very bad experience about my English. When I was in Australia, 1992, I bring my two children. The youngest one is about 4-5 years, yeah. So before kindergarten, what is that level? And only couple of months, his English is excellent. And when he is in a primary school, I asked him, his name is Adit, Adit, please practice English with me. Please teach me English. This is very important message here for you as a future teacher. No, Daddy, no, Dad, because you will ruin my English. It is true that my English is not as good as him. So this is a very important experience. If you have a kind of this kind of experience, then you have to take a note. Because also the other thing is, I congratulate you. You choose your career as a teacher. Yeah, because actually the best method of study is teaching. I don't know whether you are agree or not, but it is true. When my student here in Sampoerna University is among the best student in Indonesia, yeah, I feel very shame because of my English not that good. But also, I'm thinking that for them will be get boring if I teach them slide by slide. Then what is my reaction to the situation? I ask them to teach the class. Okay, each chapter, yeah, presented by the student, not me. This is make them more, what we call it, capable, knowledgeable about the topic. So this is also the challenge from your teacher, your lecturer, when you do micro-teaching. They challenge you, not what you learn here in this university. New topic, yeah. This will be very good for you to mastering the topic much better. What I impressed with this exhibition is what you can see. I went around and I come up to see, for me, the most boring one, but the best one for me. The style look like a newspaper. That one is make me very impressive because it's different with others. This is for me, I like it very much. But those who do not like reading, that one is not very good. Yeah, you know, the culture of Indonesia, they do not want to read, lazy to read, yeah? That's why if some of you Muslim, yeah, you remember when the first surah, yeah, in Al-Quran is Iqra. How many times? 3 times, right? Read and read and read. Okay, that one is a very, very good message, yeah, for you. When you send SMS or WhatsApp or whatever, your message, please read again and again and again. Okay, not make any mistake. Just like what you have there, unlike this one. What is the mistake on that slide? 1, 2. Okay, anyway, I congratulate you to have this kind of exhibition to acknowledge how expertise you are in this thing, yeah. And I'm very impressed with everything, with every single presentation here. And I don't know whether you want to present it here or not. It will be very good to know about your micro-teaching portfolio, and not to forget, put your portfolio attached to your application when you find job. Yeah, this one very make the company, the school, or wherever you want to get the job. That one is important part for me. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Pak Yudi. I think we can now invite Ibu Putih to lead this exhibitions.
Saya naik dari sini aja ya. Okay, thank you very much Ibu Susi, thank you very much Pak Yudi for coming and for giving your thoughts about this exhibition. So basically, today is basically the final examination of the micro-teaching. So this is basically a final examination. And as part of the assessment of the micro-teaching course, The teacher candidates had to document their journey of learning micro-teaching this semester. Each of the teacher candidates taking this course created a portfolio where they exhibit their learning experiences and reflections throughout the course. Most portfolios are in the form of e-portfolios, while some are in the form of e-books. You can see the portfolios by using your mobile phones by the given QR on each poster. So if you see there's a poster at the back of you, so later on you can take a look at it and scan the QR code, and then you will be guided to each of the teacher candidates' portfolios. So one teacher candidate, one portfolio. Okay, in the next hours, 1 or 2 hours, we have chosen some of the teacher candidates' work, and the teacher candidates will come forward and be reading what they have written in the portfolio to you. So this is going to be like a reading session. So I will call each candidate one by one, and they will read some parts of their portfolio to you. Okay. So the first one is by Andre Aulia Rahmat, and also later on by Loli Adinda Putri. Andre is a mathematics education teacher candidate, and he will be reading his teaching philosophy, and so will Loli. So Loli from English Education will be reading her teaching philosophy as well. So Andre, you may come up here and read your teaching philosophy.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So good afternoon everyone. So today I would like to read my teaching philosophy as a product from a micro-teaching class. I believe that every child is born with a very unique nature and ability. How the child thinks and behaves will depend on aspects that surround the place where they grow and develop. Ibaratkan padi yang tumbuh, it's like growing rice, depending on the behavior and nutrition provided by Paman Tani, the farmer. In this regard, I agree with the Indonesian education thinker, Ki Hajar Dewantara. So, I believe that there are no children in this world who are stupid, but that they just haven't found a way to reach their intelligence. As a student of the Faculty of Education, I often ask questions about my role in the world of education. The role and purpose that I will carry in my life. I would take shelter in the Department of Mathematics Education, often get questions about my abilities, both internally and externally. This encouraged me to have a foothold in life related to the world of education. My foothold in solving these problems is to build a self-concept that tidak ada yang tidak mungkin bisa digapai jika masih ada niat dan usaha yang dilakukan. Yakinlah bahwa Tuhan selalu ada bersamamu. Jalani apa yang dibutuhkan, bukan apa yang diinginkan. Dan ingat, jangan pernah membenci apapun dan siapapun. There is nothing that is impossible to achieve if there is still intention and effort made. Rest assured that God is always with you. Life, what is needed, not what is wanted. And remember, never hate anything or anyone. Education and teaching Chuni. For me, education is not everything, but everything is education. It can be seen in detail that akal, budi, pekerti, dan tingkah laku, thinking, attitude, and actions are parts of education. It's undeniable that education can be classified into two parts, good education and bad education. Sekiranya boleh saya umpamakan bahwa pendidikan itu ibaratkan sebuah suluh penerang. Api merupakan pengetahuan yang dipelajari. Minyak tanah atau pemantiknya merupakan kodrat kemampuan yang dimiliki oleh diri. Dan suluh itu adalah badan diri. Jadi, pendidikan yang baik itu ibaratkan suluh yang menyala yang mampu menerangkan kegelapan. Yang berarti dengan pendidikan saya dapat menerangkan masa depan saya yang jalannya masih bersimpang-simpang dalam kegelapan. Dengan adanya suluh yang menyala, saya akan mengetahui arah jalan mana yang akan saya tempuh. Berbeda halnya dengan pendidikan yang buruk, di mana dapat diumpamakan dengan suluh yang punya pemantik, namun tidak terdapat api yang menyala. Sehingganya dapat saya maknai bahwa pendidikan yang dimiliki tidak akan membantu dalam menemukan arah untuk menggapai masa depan. If I may say that education is like a torch of light, fire is learned knowledge, kerosene or the lighter is the nature of the abilities possessed by the self, and the torch is the body of the self. So, a good education is like a burning torch that can explain the darkness, which means that with education I can explain my future worst path is still crisscross in the darkness. With a flashlight on, I will know which way to go. Unlike the case with bad education, which can be linked to a torch that has a lighter, but no fire is burning. So I can understand that the education that is owned will not help in finding a direction to reach the future. Although tucked in my heart, I want to become a teacher, but I never thought that I would become a teacher in field of mathematics education, because I didn't like mathematics. But now that has changed. Mathematics is not like a daily friend. Maybe this is what is called karma or mate. Being a mathematics teacher for me doesn't mean being a perfect teacher in teaching mathematics. However, being a person who is thirsty for mathematical knowledge, where teacher will continue to learn with the students in the teaching he brings. In other words, teachers and students will learn from each other and learn together in teaching that is delivered. Then, talk about teaching. Teaching is a constructive activity for me. The process of building students' self includes aspects of action, thinking or reasoning, and attitudes. Through teaching, my role as a teacher will be needed as a discussion partner who accompanies students to build these three aspects. Until now, I still believe in the philosophy often quoted in World of Education. Apa yang kamu tanam, itulah yang kamu tuai. What you plant, that's what you will reap. I'm sure that sincerity in teaching will bear sweet fruit someday. The principle that I hold in teaching is inspired by an Indonesian education thinker, Muhammad Syafi'i, a founder of the INS Kayu Tanam. In his book entitled Arah Aktif, I quote something that I think has never been orally discussed. Sekarang timbul pertanyaan, pentingkah tangan? Syafi'i 2010. Now, the question arises, is the hand important? Syafi'i 2010. In his book, Syafi'i describes it by giving analogies about how important hands are. The work done by hand helps students in understanding the learning material. One of them in terms of visualization when learning mathematics. From there, I realized that consistent hand movements are done to do something useful. The result will be extraordinary, nothing but success. There is also another principle that I know since I was child that I adhered to when teaching, namely the Minangkabau traditional philosophy. Alam tak kambang jadi guru. Nature expands to be a teacher. It refers to the interpretation and learning that can be done by contemplating the events and things that are around us, namely what is available in nature. When I was in the first grade, I studied math for the topic of counting using lidi or coconut sticks. Because I live in a mountains area, it was different if at the time I live in a coastal area. Hopes and goals. So these existing philosophies provide a background for the approach and classroom management that I bring to the classroom when I act as a teacher. As a teacher, I must position students as much as possible as friends or study companies so that there is no gap between me and my students. This will have an impact on ease for students to follow the learning process. Students are not afraid or hesitate to ask questions or discuss with me. In addition, I also emphasize the importance of not being afraid to make mistakes. This is something that many students experience, including myself. When I was a student or college student, in fact, when we make mistakes, that's when we deepen our knowledge of the lesson, which eventually raises some question to ourselves. Kenapa bisa salah ya? Apa yang salah ya? Salahnya di mana? Why can you be wrong? What's wrong? Where did it go wrong? Which then all of these questions can increase our critical thinking in learning. Finally, the main thing that I want to my students to achieve in learning process is attitude. I believe that if a student has a good attitude, other aspects such as knowledge, skills, or etc. will follow easily. I personally believe that a good attitude will be the most valuable value in yourself compared to other aspects. As a material from my reflections, apakah mungkin orang percaya kepada saya jika saya orangnya tidak jujur, meskipun saya orang yang memiliki ilmu dan keahlian yang hebat? Is it possible for people to believe in me if I am a dishonest person, even though I am a person who has a great knowledge and expertise? I think the answer is impossible. Likewise, when participating in the learning process, attitudes will greatly contribute to success. That's it from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Andre. Very beautifully written. So thank you. That was one of our teacher candidates teaching philosophy, which is very personal. And Andre, to let you know, before writing the teaching philosophy, he read Arah Aktif by Muhammad Syafi'i, the founder of INS Kayutanam. Okay. Thank you, Andre. The next reading of the teaching philosophy is from Loli Adinda Putri from English Education. Loli, you may come forward.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. So here I will read my teaching philosophy. But before I start, I want to ask a question. How do you feel when you see a rainbow? A rainbow. Beautiful, something that, one thing for sure, it's colorful, right? So yes, rainbow, colorful, something that something artistic. It has something with my teaching philosophy. So, art and teaching. I believe that teaching is art. In my own words, art is something that comes from the mind and the heart poured into something beautiful. The whole process of teaching is the form of art for me. It is started on how a teacher teaches students involving not only brain but also heart. It all takes creativity. It's impossible for a teacher if they doesn't involve creativity in their teachings. The result of the teaching must be something that is life-changing, beautiful, and then meaningful. This is how I believe that teaching is art. Me, myself, I like something related to art, like music, poetry, paintings, colors. Thus, I want to integrate my teaching with art. The next one is about my inspiration. The literature for younger and older children course that I took in semester 5 was my biggest inspiration. It is Miss Herdiana Hakim, if you still remember. The course is full of books, any kind of books, you name it, picture book, wordless book, all of these books along with various stories that we discussed together that's all interesting for me. What's more make me excited is the assignment that Ms. Herdiana Hakim gave us that time. Reviewing a book, rewriting a story, and the most memorable for me is creating a storytelling video. The time I realized that everything that relates to something colorful, engaging activities really challenged my creativity. It's like the ideas in my mind is all about to pour. In such condition, I also realized that teaching and learning becomes way 100 times more enjoyable. Creativity challenge, lesson learned. Since then, I want to have this kind of class as well in the future. Wherever I teach, I want to challenge my students' creativity, which means it challenge myself as well. Integrating my teaching with art is the way. I can use maybe picture books as well, songs, paintings, colorful markers, notes, everything that makes my teaching and learning becomes interesting, and more important, meaningful and remembered. I want to witness my students' creativity. At once, witnessing myself challenge my creativity. So there is a quote that I take in writing this art and teaching philosophy. It's from Mark van Doren. The art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery. The next part is about being a colorful teacher. One special thing about art is in the heart, the purity. I want to be a teacher who is remembered by the students. And the next question is, how do I be remembered? So, by making it meaningful. And the next question is, how do I make it meaningful? Yes, by touching students at their heart. I tell myself that if I have a place to teach, I want to remember my students one by one, all of them, deeper. To make it come true, I want to use personal approach, an approach to get to know the students more by having close interactions. It may make time, but I believe that time will help me to discover things inside my students that could make connection with me. This is what I say by touching the students at their heart, making meaning. I'm always amazed at how some teachers become long-lasting in my memory. It is Ma'am Raf from my high school with her kind compliment that makes me confident to develop my English. It's also Mr. Arkahadi Pustaka. I know that we know him here. So, about Mr. Arka from educational technology class with his kindest heart in guiding us coding our mini game project. Not to mention the way he always has miraculous stories to tell, as well as how well he appreciates the students' work. I want to be remembered by students with the good things that I do, just like how I remember the good thing that the teachers that I mentioned above. I believe that touching students at their heart has something to do with character. In Indonesian, we call it budi pekerti. That is how we call it in Bahasa Indonesia, budi pekerti. Ki Hajar Dewantara once mentioned in his book, budi pekerti, watak, karakter adalah bersatunya antara gerak, pikiran, perasaan, dan kehendak atau kemauan sehingga menimbulkan tenaga atau semangat. This one is one of Ki Hajar Dewantara's teaching philosophy. Due to its great value, I decided to adopt this philosophy into my own teaching philosophy. To sum up, here is a sentence about my teaching philosophy. I want to be a colorful teacher, meaningful and remembered. That's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Loli. Thank you. So, yes. Makasih, Pak. Okay. Thank you, Loli. So, I shared your philosophy, Loli, with Pak Arka last night, and he also wrote something, and I will send it to you later on. So, Pak Arka told me that Loli is very creative. So, when he created like a coding, it was actually very artsy. And Pak Arka was so inspired that he created his own teaching philosophy in one paragraph and sent it to me last night. So I will share it with you. Thank you, Loli. Okay, the next thing is that we'd like to share is we actually have in Sampoerna University what we call a school experience program. And this program is actually integrated with this course, but it's not like, it's actually the teacher candidates here learned how to become a reflective practitioner by reflecting on their previous experiences of teaching and comparing it with their teaching experiences this semester using what is called the TLRP framework. And basically, me and Ibu Susi here, we, from the beginning of the semester, we believe that teaching is more, micro-teaching is about learning to teach, and learning to teach is more than teaching the technicalities. And this framework fits our philosophy of teaching teachers as well. So I would call Arin Septarini to explain a little bit about the TLRP framework. Arin, you may come forward.
So good afternoon, everyone. Right. So now I'm going to explain about the TLRP framework, which we used in our microteaching courses and also in the school experience program. So this microteaching courses is also integrated with school experience program. This is a program that held by Faculty of Educations, where the teacher candidates are given the opportunities to spend time in school, in different school, in each semester. And we spent 1 month for this semester for about 40 hours to do school experience program, preparing our own teaching materials, lesson plans, and we do independent teaching. And one of the microteaching assignments during SCP was to reflect on our own teaching experiences using the technology and learning research program, which called as TLRP framework that we use right now, as you can see from the posters that we have stick on the wall. So, what is TLRP framework? So, according to Pollard in 2011, it is more than just about use the assumptions to the students. So, it is about the pedagogy that we use. So, pedagogy is the practice of teaching framed and informed by the shared and structure of body language. This knowledge comprises experiences, evidence, understanding of the moral purposes, and shared transparent values. It is by virtue of progressively acquiring such knowledge and mastering the expertise through initial training, continuing development, reflections, classroom inquiry, and regulated practice, the teachers are entitled to be treated as professionals. Teachers should be able to be willing to evaluate their own and others' practices in the light of relevant theories, values, and also evidence.
They should be able to make professional judgment, go beyond pragmatic constraints and ideology. So in this TLRP framework, or Teaching, Learning, Research Program framework, we use like 10 points or 10 principles for effective pedagogy. The first one, we use equips learners for the life in its broader sense. Second one, engage with the valued form of knowledge. Third one, recognizes the importance of prior experiences and learning. Fourth, requires the teacher to scaffold learning. The next one, needs assessment to congruent the learning. The next one, again, promotes the active engagement in the learner. 7, fosters both individual and social process and outcomes. 8, recognizes the significance of formal learning. 9, it depends on the teacher's learning. The last one demands consistent policy framework for the support for teaching and learning as their primary. So as you can see in the posters behind you that have been stick to the wall, it is part of the TLP framework that we applied. So you can scan on that and you can check out on the website that we have created, which contains of our TLP framework, and we also put the reflections on each points that I have mentioned before. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arin, for explaining about the TLRP framework. So we will have one of our teacher candidates to read their personal reflections based on the TLRP framework, but not all components because it's quite long, because there are 10 components, if you might notice. So this is just some of her reflection, and I would like to invite Stephanie Rebecca Saulina Manik from Mathematics Education.
Okay, so in here I will share some of my reflections about my SCP experience, or school experience program. So there's something special in this SCP. Why? Because here we require to teach by using TLRP framework or Teaching, Learning, Research program, like what my friends has shared before. And one of the elements in the TLRP is equipping students for life in the broader sense. Previously, I never focused on equipping students for life in the broader sense. So I only focus on teaching the materials. I teach by using textbook through teacher-centered approach, and also I deliver the material, give the examples, and that's all. Just a basic teaching itself. And in this semester, when I hold my SCP in SMP Negeri 238, I help my students learn about quadratic functions. So I introduce students to decimal scraping calculator, so they could be learned independently. And also before, the mentor teacher asked the students to do group work about creating a presentations about quadratic functions. And in here, I also teach them about the Canvas, so how they could make a more engaging presentations, and also give some feedback how to do the presentation itself, because that's the first time of them in doing the presentations. And the next topic after that, I teach the students about geometric transformations, including reflection, translations, rotations, and dilatations. So in here, I facilitated the students to discuss why the topic is important to learn. Through the discussions, we came up with the idea that mathematics, including geometric transformation, is actually all around us. We know that not all of the students are engaged in class, but I approach them more personally by calling their names. And some students also talk that they have difficulty solving mathematical problems. Therefore, I scaffold them by asking questions and giving them hands-on learning experience. And I told them that it's okay to make a mistake. Mistake is a part of learning. Since the students were working in groups, so they could learn to each other, learn students with students. Besides learning inside of the class, students learn outside of the class too. The topic is not always mathematics, of course. So I decided to join and see the things that the students do outside the class. such as when they join the YAP pledge activity and the students' council. If possible, outside of the class, I talk with the students to know their interests and talent. So I will know more about what's their talent outside of the academic, since we know that every student have their own potentials, have their own talents, which we couldn't equalize them all. So in here, I see how them talents outside of the academic itself. And I always try to reflect on my teaching by questioning what went well and what didn't, because we know that teaching is a lifelong process. And also, my mentor teacher also give me insight on the things that I should improve. Once, my mentor teacher told me that my voice was too small while there are 40 students in the class, and they should be able to hear what I said. Of course, in the next meeting, I tried to improve it. My mentor teacher then said that I already enough to be a real teacher. She adds that the only aspect that I need is jam terbang. So I'm more familiar with the different aspect of the class. And I'm so glad that I could perform my best and give an impact on my students. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie, for sharing your experiences. Yeah, and in the TLRP framework, one of the most important aspects of being an effective pedagogue is by actually focusing on teachers' learning. So it's not just the students' learning, but it's also the teachers' learning. Okay, so the next one is actually, we're going to talk about what we did in our class, which was learning how to integrate our subject matter with other issues, such as social and environmental issues. And our teacher candidates will share the process, and I would like to invite Clarissa Rahmawati from English Education to share the journey of designing integrated learning for mathematics education students. Yeah.
Okay, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to share you all about my journey of designing integrated learning for my students. So microteaching is one of my classes in the 7th semester, and from the name of the course itself, I was kind of worried. I'm worried about what am I going to learn, and then like whether it will be a challenging class for me or not, and then turns out it is a challenging class, but all in all, it's a fun class. So microteaching class itself is a teaching that focuses on integrating the use of technology. And in one of many activities in the class, there's one time when Mrs. C told us to work in a group of 3, where we will be discovering what is our teaching philosophy. And to know what is our teaching philosophy, we asked 2 questions, which is, what is our strength in teaching? And then, what do you like the most in teaching? And then when it's my turn, I explained that my teaching philosophy is when I can create an environment where the students can value a real-life situation. And as you know, using real-life situation could improve students' understanding and connect it with their life so they understand about the material better. And then, for the second question, I answered that I like to see the improvement from the students or the feedback from the students that I teach, because from the feedback or from the comment, we can see whether my teaching is successful or not. And then the next activity that I remember in the micro-teaching class is when we have a guest lecture, which, if I'm not wrong, is Miss Ines from Sekolah Kembang. The guest lecturer gives us her story and how and where she teach before. And she told us that she teach in a remote area where most of the students is still helping their parents to form, which led to a different school schedule than we usually have. So the school is adjust the time with the harvest season, so the students can help their parents without worrying about the school. And then in that school, she also explained that when teaching the material, she needs to connect it with the material that they have in the surrounding. So for example, she will teach count how much fertilizer they need to plant in the farm. And next I learned about being an effective teacher. They also come in the class. So effective teacher itself meant that the teacher need to provide positive student-centered and respectful class. Not only that, the effective teachers need to reflect on their teaching and evaluate their teaching continually. So this material led us to learn about how to become a reflective teacher. And then to become a reflective teacher, first we need to know how to reflect, of course. Okay. And then how to do that? To become a reflective teacher, there's one way, which is the first one we need to reflect on how to reflect in the books. So when we read a book or journal, we need to ask who is the author, and then what is the evidence for the author's statement? What is the author trying to prove? Or other assumption, and many other questions that we can ask in the book. And after knowing how to be effective on a book, we can make a connection to the book. So there's actually 3 stages when we make connection to the book. Maybe you guys remember this. The first is text to self. The second one, text to text. And the third one is text to world. So in this part, we had a story from one of the books that we need to read, which is Perubahan Itu Nyata. The chapter that I read mostly discuss about how the teachers teach the students using a project-based learning, where the teacher only act as the mentor. So when I connect the story by using textual stages, there's many schools that still use using a teacher-centered class, which makes the student only listen and follow what the teacher wants in their study. And after that, finally, we come to the time that we need to make our own teaching, which is our group is divided into 2 groups, which are identity awareness and environment awareness. And I belong to the identity awareness. After we divided into the group, my group are discussing on what we should deliver in our teaching and how we're going to divide it. So after we discussed many things, our group decided to use SWOC, as strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threat as the base of our lesson, and how to use that to enhance our dream job. So I got a threat part where we will be discussed on how to use the threat we have in ourselves as our strength. But however, when we do that, there's challenges, right? So there are some challenges that we have when we're preparing the lesson plan and the unit plan, and one of them is miscommunication. Because our miscommunication, we need to make our lesson plan into agreement that we make, and with the help of Miss Susi, we got to finish the lesson plan and the unit plan. And not only that, so when my group want to teach, we also got a challenge from Miss Susi not to use any technology. Technology like Padlet or using quizzes or games. So we just need to use the traditional technology like paper or the board and etc. Well, I think it's a bit challenging for us since we always use technology in class, right? But however, challenge is challenge. So we make sure to finish the challenge. And it comes to the days that we need to teach the class on what we have prepared before. And I'm so nervous when I want to teach. And I was way more nervous than the first time I teach in the SCP class. I don't know why. However, after we had taught the class, we felt relief that we had delivered the lesson successfully, and we also got some feedback in our friends in class and how to make the teaching and learning better. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clarissa. Okay. So thank you very much, Clarissa. So basically, Clarissa was telling about a guest lecture. So we had 2 guest lectures in our course. One was Ibu Ines from Sekolah Kembang, who helped the teacher candidates in actually designing their integrated learning activities. The other one was Ibu Faradila from Hakola Huda, who taught in Sumba Timur using an ethnographic approach. So the next thing, we will call Ashila Anjani Barli from Mathematics Education to share the journey of designing integrated learning for English language education students. Okay, Ashila.
Okay, so hi everyone. Hi. Okay, so our lecturers say that micro-teaching class this year is different than the last one. So if before they only require students to teach specific topics, this year they gave us challenge to not only teach topics in mathematics or English, but actually integrate them with social or environmental awareness. So I and my peers are preparing a math instructional design that integrates social and environmental awareness. We decided to choose the theme, Understanding the World Using Mathematics. However, to reach that point, we had to go through some process of observing, brainstorming, and making decisions for our unit plan. Luckily, I'm doing it with my peers and my beloved teachers who always give an eye-opening discussion and experience. So without further ado, here's our journey. So in the beginning, our class decided to have an integrated learning between subject topic and social environmental awareness. We are excited yet challenged since we haven't really experienced something like this before. A lot of us are wondering where our learning will lead to. How could it bring up in the classroom? I love the way we are enthusiastic about this project and will surely learn a lot through this process. This project had a main and big goal, which is to shape us becoming a reflective teacher. Since perfect teaching is never exist, the best we could do is to be a reflective teacher who can always look back, realize, and improve our practice in the future. To begin, we fill our cup of knowledge by connecting, evaluating, and reflecting on writing and theories that existed before. We were reading McGregor's What Reflective Practice Means to You and Why You Should Engage with That. We also hearing the presentation of Ms. Puti, who gave us the reflection on reading Ki Hajar Dewantara, Shafi'i, and some other educator philosophers. So inspiration is indeed everywhere. Before we do the brainstorming, we also watch Hidden Figures. So the math people, you remember? We watch it, and to be honest, I and my friends are very, very moved by their courage and consistency. We love to see Catherine with her genius mind, Dorothy with her leadership soul, and Mary with her confidence and fighting spirit. They were all fighters, actually, and from watching the movies, we would be one too. Conclusion, we love this movie very much. So here comes the crafting of the unit plan. Before that, we begin by observing the world around us. We are able to observe anything that we think is important for people to understand and be aware of. From there, we look at how mathematics could help them understand the desired context. So in this process, we get a totally different point of view. I basically observe something which is very obvious. I observe the vehicle and the water drain, but my friends are the one who brought up many interesting things. They brought up a water dispenser. They also brought up about people interaction or the location of the trash bin in Sampoerna University. And this process is pretty special for me, since everyone is active in their own way, but they were sharing the thinking and their opinion. What I highlight the most during this process is when some students point out their idea that is related to the real-life context. But the next question is, does understanding it will raise students' social or environmental awareness? Or just making them realize the application of math in real life? Because these two are quite different things. That question brought me to realize that the important thing here is the awareness part, not only the world part. That what makes the lesson is important and worth to learn. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you very much, Sheila, for sharing the process. So in the process, Ibu Susi's class and my class had a different approach in learning how to integrate social and environmental awareness, but all of them did really well and based on their own subject knowledge. So now I would like to call Desi Putri Octavia to share the micro-teaching experience of teaching Medu students. So Desi Putri Octavia from English Education.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Pada tegang. Okay. So it's a really great opportunity for me to stand here in front of the lecturers, Pak Eka, Miss Cecile, Miss Susi, Miss Adesti, a long time no see, oh my gosh, Miss Putih. And I want to say oceans of gratitude to Miss Putih and Miss Susi, who's imparted knowledge to us to create a lesson plan and unit plan. And I believe that we've learned so many things regarding the scaffolding and also how to integrate the content with the language, or we can say that's CLIL, content and language integrated learning. So at the beginning, so when we heard that we're going to combine the class with the math education, so it was very surprising yet very pleasing one, because this is again a very unique opportunities and experience for us to learn, because we got to share our knowledge to Medu students and also the vice versa. And with two topics about identity and environmental awareness. And we believe that by having those two big themes, by having two big themes, which I believe that we face a lot of difficulties in how to integrate the content to our language or the math educations. But yet, all of the experiences, we believe that are very beneficial for us to pursue our career in teaching professions. And I would say that at first there are three words that I want to highlight with everyone. First, there's the word teamwork. Second is ego. And then the third is consensus. So why teamwork? First, okay, we gather around, we discuss, we brainstorm with our peers about the topic. And then when we have discussions, along with the discussions, we have this ego, which I think that's a really hard and tough process, because when we share things with our peers and then we have this, we can put aside our egos. And then I believe what Ms. Susi said to me, when you plan a lesson, you need to put aside your ego and then to start thinking what your students need. So that's the really big hit for me. Because because I believe that we were very excited to do this micro teaching, because we included all the things inside the unit plan, and then when we presented it to one of the guest lecturer, Miss Ines, and then we presented it with excitement and great enthusiasm, and then we received the feedback. And it turns out that we still misses some marks, and we receive a feedback that, I think it was quite hard to accept, but again we learned we made mistakes, we learned, and we redesigned the lessons, and until we did it. Okay, and I want to have a big applause for all of you guys who nailed the lessons and then just go in there when you perform your micro-teaching and then just show your teeth and then your expertise. And I think that was one of the most memorable moments to see like my peers performed their actual teaching, even though it's just a micro-teaching one, but it was really memorable ones for me. So that's a glimpse for me during the process of creating this unit and lesson plan. So thank you, everyone. So yeah, that's it. Bawa pulang.
Okay, thank you very much, Desi, for sharing your experiences. Yeah. So in this micro-teaching process, we believe that teaching is a collective action. It's not just an individual action. So that is why we actually enforced our students to design a unit plan together. So all the lessons of one teacher candidate relates to the second lesson and the third lesson and so on. So it's like a series of learning experiences. Okay, next I would like to call Ni Ayu Kadeh Indah Mahandari to share her micro-teaching experiences of teaching English education students.
Wow, it's been my first time standing in this stage after a long journey of COVID-19. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'm sorry if my voice a little bit cracked will be. This will be quite a long story of micro-teaching experience because I don't know why with this long story. I think back then my brain just take control of my my finger. So I would like to come up with the topic of the micro-teaching experience. It's literally micro-teaching, teaching allied students. So first of all, I would like to explain that I take a part on the third part of the series teaching. Which is the topic is the using mathematics to understand ourselves in relation to others, specifically what is around us, classifying and identifying things around us. So this third part, the learning objective of this unit is using tables and charts to classify and identify things, educationals, health-related, and also a boarding house around us in the boundary of 1 kilometer. Especially, I collaborate with Mr. Andre to in this first series of micro-teaching. So here is the process. The process of designing a lesson plan is actually really simple. Because the topic present are simple and related close to our life. However, with this simple thing, I want to make a learning engaging and meaningful. Like how come a simple thing, but I want to make a learning really meaningful to my friends as my as my students. However, the first thing I did to achieve my goal was to recognize the characteristic of my students because I was well aware that for successful learning, students must feel enjoy and happy in my class. And on this opportunity, my students were my friends, like my friends, allied students, who was really funny, active, and also like to discuss many things. Therefore, I decided to design a lesson plan that make them effectively move discuss, and of course, find new things that makes them more enthusiastic about participating in the learning activity. So, just like compiling the unit plan, teaching mathematics across the curriculum is new experience for me, and I believe for us, as well as a challenge also for me. Making a seamless connection between the content and the context was a bit hard for me with no experience at all. And I feel like a little bit pressure and anxious when I have to design an activity that is difficult for me with no experience, and I think that it should be interesting. And also, like the lesson plan that I designed, it looked very simple, right? But the learning process in the classroom, there are demands for all those connections to make sense. Moreover, my students are college students who are mostly majoring in English education. So, whereas for the last 3 years, they have focused on the English and somewhat far from the mathematics. So, because I hear some of them say that, oh my God, I hate math. That's why I'm majoring English education. So that is my challenge also, because I teach my friend in majoring English education who hate math. So how come? And then this made me think that more or less about how to make my my students enjoy in class, so they will understand the content. So of all the plans I designed, thankfully it enjoy and engage in my class. A happy impression of me as a teacher when I hear several students show their impression of the topic, and the technology that I bring. There were some students who say like, wow, how come, like, wow, interesting. And that's like really, what is it, like happiness for me as a teacher. Besides that, the majority of students in my class also quick realized that, reveal in the final reflection of the session, that mathematics helped them a lot. So it's mean that I achieve my learning outcome as increasing awareness about the mathematics, the use of mathematics around us. So I will story a little bit about how my lesson plan is going on. So I open my class with guiding questions about the previous lesson delivered by Mr. Andre. And because this is a series of learning, so I just make sure that they understand the previous lesson, and also they can improve in my activity and receive a new concept. Furthermore, I always put the objective of the lesson, which is learning outcome, in the beginning of the class. Just make sure to give a clear understanding of what will we going to learn in this lesson. And then the most challenging part of designing a lesson plan is providing the tools to teach, because when we are planning a thing, make sure that this planning is doable, right? So I was planning to use digital math, because it is still above the 1 kilometer radius, or like a boundary 1 kilometer. And then I and Andre decided to use digital math to design the boundary of radius 1 kilometer itself. The reason behind it is just to involve digital technology in the classroom, and digital map also make us easier to find the thing on the map. So what we're going to do in the classroom is basically to find a thing, to find a schools, to find health related like a hospital or clinic, and also the boarding house in the around us in the boundary in the radius 1 kilometer, so that with using digital map to make sure they can zoom in to find the thing that to be instruct. So it will be also the new experience for my students. That's why they say interesting, like how come, because it's also a new experience for me to make a digital map with the boundary in the radius 1 kilometer. So, however, creating that map was not easy at all, because I will never do that before, and also Andre. And yeah, we stuck like more than 5 hours in the McDonald's to think how to make a digital map with the boundary radius 1 kilometer. Like as we know, when talking about technology, that I aware that there are many technology that I'm not familiar with. However, I really want to impress my students, so that like I always hear that teachers will always learn before the students, right? So I learn before my students know. So I learn a lot about how to make the digital map with the boundary radius 1 kilometer, and I learn in the YouTube and the Google. But see, technology will be always with the teacher who wants learning. So that's all. Like this is it also one of things that went well in my classroom. So if we jump to the reflection of my micro-teaching activity, the activity that I bring, which is classifying things in the digital map with the boundaries radius 1 kilometer, it ran well, in my opinion. So that's it. What went well in my classroom. But what is not going well in my classroom is it like a transition. I always have challenge when doing the transition about the first activity to the second activity and the third activity. How to make it smooth, I still learn about that a lot, because it's hard for me. So when I come up with the second activity, I have to stop the first activity and then state it clearly, okay, we're gonna do the second activity to my students, because I see like my students still confused when I move to the second activity from the first activity. So that I think not run well in my classroom. And also the time management. This is still a big question for me, maybe for you too. Like why, when we are be a teacher and teaching in front of classroom, the time flies so fast. But when we are learning and be a student, sit in the chairs, the time is so slow. Like this is like why. So that's why I'm hard to manage my time, because time flies so fast when I'm teaching. So that's all my teaching experience in micro teaching. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Thank you very much, Indah. So maybe for those who don't know, what Indah did was actually she used a digital map and put a circle 1 kilometer, and that was not easy to make the circle. And then the students identified health and educational and boarding houses, facilities in the radius, inside the radius of 1 kilometer. And that the English education students, I think they really enjoyed the lesson. So that's one of the stories. So it is almost coming to an end, our reading. We have 2 more readings, is actually the final reflections. First will be read by Aurora Jessica Fabiola from Mathematics Education. So she will read her final reflection on both her personal and professional development during this course. Ferdy, please.
All right, thank you, Ms. Putih. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Aurora Jessica Fabiola from Mathematics Education 2019. So first of all, I would like to congratulations to all of my friends who have finished the mandatory one, which is microteaching. So we did it, guys. And the second one, I would like to say a lot of thank you for the lecturer, Ms. Putih and Ms. Susi, for the support that give it to us. So without them, we cannot do anything, guys. So here I would like to share my final reflections on personal professional development through microteaching. There are 2 parts here. The first one is the personal development, and the second one is professional development. The first one is the personal development. This class taught me the importance of reflections. From the beginning of the meeting, we were presented by the several readings related to the magnitude of reflections. So at that time, we read some books that related about the reflective teacher, and that really means a lot for me. To be someone willing to reflect on what he or she has achieved is a great person. In reflection, we were taught to see the side that is already good and the side that still need to be improved. What in that mind? We will humble ourselves for a moment that try to realize what was happened. Besides, this microteaching class extensively develop the ability to negotiate and fight for our idea. Why not? We often need clarifications about which idea is better and more appropriate. It wasn't easy to decide because the ideas presented were of a high quality. However, we must choose. Therefore, I had to choose one and fight for my choice by negotiating in the class. So, if I can remember, at that time we need to decide which of the part of the unit plan that we can make or develop. At the time we want to make a day of my life in university students for the English language students, but it seems like not fit enough with our thumb, so we need to take it out from the unit plan. So the second one is my professional development. How we train to design unit plan is the most exciting and very important in my professional development. Even though in the past we had learned how to make a unit plan using UBD, understanding by design, designing unit plan this time was much more challenging because we were not limited by the curriculum or syllabus. Without this limitation, we can focus more on what students need in designing the unit plans. I hope to apply the knowledge of developing unit plan in work, organizations, and other programs because the scaffolding in creating unit plan is very neat and structured. So, for your information, when we create the unit plan, Ms. Putih and Ms. Susi didn't give us a curriculum or a syllabus to follow, and that's really challenging for us, but yeah, we had done. Not only that, but I also learned the importance of time management in class. We use more time then when we use more time than we have been given, it will harm others. Therefore, time management is very crucial. We may enjoy what happens in class but remember the time. Extending class time can also make our students feel disadvantaged. Just imagine when in the world of work later, if we exceed the time, our students may be late to go home or cut their others' work. So at the time, if I can take a story, when I have a micro teaching with Stephanie, actually in the day we have three student teacher to have performing micro teachings, but at the time Hilda cannot come, so it's just Stephanie and I. But yeah, I take a lot of time there. It's quite like 40 minutes, just like twice times for the requirements. But that's really means a lot for me for increasing my professional development. So yeah, I think that's all for my reflections. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Feby, for sharing your personal and professional development. So Feby's portfolio is in the form of a book, and she printed out 3 examples for us to see if you'd like to see. And now let's come to our last reading. After this, you can have a free time, walk around and see our students work and ask them questions straightforwardly to them. So I would like to call Priscilla Putri Janantoya from English Education to read her final reflection.
Okay. Hello everyone. Okay, so I'm the last one and I will tell you about my final reflection. So from micro teaching lessons, all of us learn something new and also develop new skills. So with this precious opportunity, I will share mine. So what I wrote in my e-portfolio is there are 2 types of development, starting with the professional one. I said that I learned that I need to improve my lesson design, classroom management, material delivery, and also collaborative skills. And then personally, I learned more about myself, and I also learned how to teach, even though I am an introvert, and then also I find my strength in teaching, and then I gain more confidence in speaking, and finally have a positive attitude towards students and teammates or colleagues. I quote this sentence or quote by Aristotle. He famously wrote, "The more you know, the more you realize you don't know." Most importantly, I learned that I need to stay hungry for knowledge. I have realized that knowledge is power and unlimited. The English lesson might have a fixed structure, but human beings are unique in their own way, and we need to find ways to fit in every uniqueness and embrace it, because we are teachers aiming to facilitate our students in the best way possible. What went well in my teaching is the way I spoke English. I had positive response to my students, and then I was able to recall previous lessons. However, I still need to improve a lot. Some of them are my lesson design, and then also time management and engaging students in the activity. Therefore, I would like to read more books and observe more teachers, more experienced teachers, and then finally, I would like to keep on practicing at any opportunity given possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much, Priscilla Putri Jananta. So basically, that's all of our reading today. So the question and session answer will be like, you can talk with my students, because all of my students work Here, all of the teacher candidates' work are unique. So have a walk around and talk to each other, and you can ask questions to one another. Thank you very much, and thank you everybody for making this such an enjoyable event.